Alexis, thanks so much for coming. We were really looking forward to talking to you today. And I think it's because so many of us have the same question. What's it like for you to drive 330 miles an hour for a job?
Wow. In the beginning, it was like light speed. I mean, you took off from the starting line and you were just there. And from the outside, I'm sure it looks like that. After doing it for so long, after going over 300 miles an hour, on a consistent basis, it doesn't feel as fast anymore. It actually slows down, and that 4 seconds feels more like 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And now, growing up in LA, we'll take it even before your career, you were around the Hollywood scene. Was that ever a thought in your mind that maybe you would want to get into that industry?
Partially. I had, some experiences, I could say. But ultimately, I was very business-minded. Right out of high school, I took some college courses, but my plan was to work for the family company, and I did that for 4 years, and I worked, in every department you could possibly imagine, from working the phones to research and development, art, and I did everything, and at the end of those 4 years, I still had that itch in me. I needed to go and race. I needed to, first of all, see if I could do it. Right. And I definitely could. So it's a passion that I got to make my profession.
Right, but you did star in a movie, Naked Mongoose, right?
I did, yeah, after the fact, after racing. That was really fun. In school, I did plays, and I've been in a few small parts. So I wasn't a stranger to that. It was really fun playing that character. Anytime you get to dress up and pretend to be somebody, I think it's fun to do it. I had a lot of fun filming with the guys, but man, remembering those lines, it's got to be tough. I had one line, and that was like, I was sweating over it.
You were a little more comfortable in the car, right?
Yeah, I'm more comfortable with a helmet on my head for sure.
Well, you also had success with modeling too, but was that a little weird for you to kind of have like total opposite ends of the spectrum? Just being in front of a camera and modeling to being in an athletic setting.
I was raised to be pretty balanced. I've been exposed to so many different things, so many different types of living and people and places, and it's just one more piece of the puzzle, So I've been very well-rounded. My dad taught us, very strong work ethics growing up, so I value that incredibly. And, I feel so blessed to be able to drive this race car.
Mm-hmm. Were you kind of a wild child as a kid, or was it like, did it come as a big surprise when, you chose this as a career and, actually became very successful at it?
Definitely not a surprise. I was the wild child of the family. It's easy to see that, probably. But, I've just always been the one that kind of, the one out first trying to, like, do the craziest stuff and, the speed demon, so to speak. In high school, I had a hot rod and, was hanging out with the guys that were racing around and building cars, and so this was kind of just the natural progression, safe way to do what I love to do.
Mm-hmm. And in what ways did your family show support when you wanted to go down this avenue?
Well, at first they didn't. My dad was not really excited about this profession that I chose. Once he saw where you sit in the car behind, this giant motor that's, being fed by nitromethane, it's basically a bomb waiting to go off. And he wasn't too stoked about that. But, once he saw the dedication and, how locked in I was and how good I was, actually, I did very, very well right off the bat. He couldn't help but respect that and respect my choice to do this, and he's been very supportive, all the way through. And he goes to a lot of my races, with his busy schedule. It's pretty remarkable. He's been to a few of them, and one of the best ones ever were the was the U.S. Nationals in Indianapolis. He was there for that one. That was his first time seeing me win, and it was like the biggest race ever. So that was incredible. Thank you.
Awesome. That's awesome. You mentioned your dedication. What do you think it was at a young age for you that really sparked that? Like, was it one thing that sparked the passion for you, or?
My dad, definitely. Yeah, he's a strong one. He's pushed through so much adversity, and he, came from like very modest means. And my grandmother, came over on a boat through Ellis Island from Greece. My grandfather came over from Italy. So, I mean, he was first generation out here. She had to work 3 jobs just to keep them, at home and school. And then on the weekends, he was with a foster family. So, like, he worked really hard to get to where he is, and he's just instilled that in all of his children. And we're, so glad that he did, because, I mean, we are just so much more grateful and understanding of what it takes to get to this point. It's more gratifying, I think, when you do have to work harder for it.
Right.
Definitely.
And now, when you think about what your career choice has been and how much success you've had in that career, does the element of danger ever frighten you at all, or is it something that actually excites you more than anything?
Yeah, I think life has a lot of more meaning when you're looking death in the face on a daily basis. But I mean, life in general is just, you never know, man. You could be walking down the street and get shot. You just never know. I mean, am I going to sit in my house and be, scared to death and, make it quietly and slowly to death and not experience life? No, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to, I'm going to take it. I'm going to build my nest on the top of the hill and go search for food and rain, sleet, and snow, whatever it takes, man. It's about living life and experiencing different things.
Yeah, well, you're certainly living over the last year or so. Congrats on making history, too, recently. Tell us about that.
Thank you very much. It's just been an incredible journey, to be one of the few females that gets to race on this level and be successful at it as well. We made history this year so far in the NHRA drag racing. There were 5 different females that won national events so far this year, and I was one of those females, so it was pretty incredible. I mean, ultimately, you just want to be the best race car driver, period, not best female, best male. I mean, that's the goal. Everybody's out there and wants to win a championship, and that car does not know if you're a girl or a man, so,
Yeah.
we're all fighting for it hard.
Right, I'm sure there's a lot of work that goes into this. I mean, so many moving parts, so much more than probably what the fans see, right? So tell me about your schedule. Like, what's your average schedule like? Where do you have busy months as opposed to months where you got not much going on at all, or are you just kind of constantly on the go?
It's pretty constant. We race 24 weekends between February and November. We have a couple months off in the wintertime, basically just long enough to soak up time with the family and get everything done, all the bills paid, all the stuff that we tend to miss throughout the year. We're back at it, come late January, we start testing again. So it's constant, but these cars, I mean, you don't want to be out of the seat for very long. And when you are, it's that first run in the car is like, whew, do I remember how to do this?
Yeah, and it's crazy to think too that you're still staring death at the face every day and still smiling. And it's remarkable too, and what a lot of fans understand of you too is that you were in a pretty bad accident, right? Can you tell us about what happened there and what kind of impact has that had on your mentality lately?
This was a few years back when I was racing Top Alcohol Funny Car, and it happened right over in your neighbor's backyard in New Jersey. It was at the Englishtown racetrack. Actually, I just came from there this weekend. We were racing out there, and it's one of those things, man. Like a $3 part, malfunctioned and caused this catastrophic event. The parachutes ripped off the back of my car right after I crossed the finish line, and it ripped open the rear end and sprayed oil all over my brakes, so I had no way to stop the car. And I was still going about 130 miles an hour, and it wasn't slowing down at all. And the way those cars are designed is they're designed to cut through the air. Basically, they don't have a lot of downforce. So there was no way I was going to scrub off any speed. And so, man, I just pretty much decided right then and there, this is what's going to happen. So you got to make the best of the situation, and everything slowed down. Like I talked about, a run, being 4 seconds, but really feeling like 4 minutes. Gosh, that was like slow motion at its best. I mean, I could tell you every little detail as I was flying towards the sand traps at the end of the racetrack. And we have a sand pit, and then 2 nets, and then 8 rows of sand-filled barrels, to stop the cars if they go off the end. I was going so fast, I went right over the sand, didn't even touch the sand, and just cut through both nets. And then finally at the 4th row of the sand-filled barrels, I finally stopped. And from the motor plate forward, the car just kind of crunched up over the motor, and it flipped over. I opened my eyes and dusted myself off, and I was fine. So it was
no injuries.
No injuries whatsoever. I was very lucky.
That's incredible.
It was incredible.
Yeah, I mean,
very incredible.
From a mental standpoint, so much, perseverance, strength, showing confidence even after such a tragic event like that, it's pretty crazy. But another big element where you kind of embody those great characteristics is being a mom. And what a lot of fans don't see, outside of the race cars, what your life is like, outside of work. What are some of the things that you do to remind yourself to, make sure you're always keeping that proper balance between family and work, and how is that for you?
Yeah, I'm more fearful when I'm with my daughter than at work. Scared to death, actually. She rides horses. She does all this fun stuff, and I'm the one on the sidelines, going, don't do that. But no, she's a strong one. When I'm at home, I'm 100% at home. I try not to schedule any interviews or anything when I'm there. I mean, it's pretty basic. I wake up in the morning and I take the kids to school, basically wait for them to come home all day. And then, we get them home at night or at the end of the day, and we all have dinner right at the table. I think it's really important to do that, and that's something that I had when I was a kid. And, we talk about our day, and it's, we're connected. We check in with each other. When I'm at the racetrack, but as soon as summer hits, the kids are with me on the road, traveling. They're here with me now. But now they're at the age where they can finally understand and respect and, what mom does for a living. So it's been fun to have them with me.
Have they showed interest in possibly making a career?
A little bit. My oldest daughter, she's shown a little bit, but not to the point where I'd put a lot of stock in it. So she's mentioned a few things. So I'm still waiting. Yeah.
Now, even from outside the 4 walls of your house, you've become such a role model for so many women around the country. What has that been like for you to think that you really have become quite a hero for many? And is that something that you ever really anticipated when you decide to make this a career?
Well, role model is a pretty tough thing to be, because you know what, I'm not perfect and no one's perfect, and I wouldn't want anybody to just run their lives by the way I run my life. But if I can, if I can be a positive influence on someone, whether it's a girl or a guy looking to come into the sport, or just someone that's having trouble trying to find what they want to do in life. I'm definitely that person. But being a role model is like, kind of putting yourself on a pedestal, and I'm not that person. I'm a real girl here, and we all have ups and downs, and you know what I mean. So, but if I can be a positive influence on someone, then by all means, I would definitely love to be.
When you look back at all the things that you've accomplished, what would you say is the moment you're most proud of?
Uh, Gosh, I would say that U.S. Nationals win. That was huge. I've been racing for 11 years and the last 6 years as a pro. And from day one when I started this, even before I started this, that's the car I wanted to drive. And I had no racing background. No one in my family raced, so it was something that I just kind of went out in left field and said, I'm going to do this. And I made it happen. And I worked my way up through the ranks respectfully. And, you know, to accomplish that win is huge. That's like the Indy 500 win of IRL racing. It's massive. And, you know, if you've never won a race, but you've won the Indy race, you know, then you've made it. So that was huge. And to have my family there, my husband there supporting me, and all the other Kalita Motorsports teams, I mean, it was like a dream come true. So it was really hard not to get teared up.
I know right now you're still accomplishing so much on the track, but have you thought about what life would be like after this career is over? Have you thought about what your next move might be?
Definitely. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. You got to have an end game, you know, a backup plan, because life happens, you know what I mean? So you never really know what's in store for you later on down the line. So I have a couple different, you know, interests and different things going on, and I'm partnered with some of the Paul Mitchell beauty schools around the nation, which are really awesome.
That's awesome.
And, you know, various things, but I definitely want to get more involved in charity work, but more hands-on, so.
That's awesome. One more question for you before we open up to the audience. I think this might be a little bit of a funny one, but I was so curious. Is it difficult for you to drive normally, like on the streets, like if you're going grocery shopping ever? Or like have you ever got a speeding ticket? Like, I think that'd be the funniest thing ever.
Yeah. How can I carefully answer this? Let's see. Yeah, you know, after going 300 miles an hour so much, you just don't really have a concept of speed. Like 60 miles an hour on the freeway feels like 20 miles an hour. Right. I have gotten tickets in the past, I think when I first started racing, and it was still kind of fresh, but now, you know, if I don't have to drive, I don't drive. I have my husband drive because he's a lot more chill than I am. But no, I've kind of gotten over that. You know, I haven't gotten a speeding ticket in a while, so a few years, doing pretty good.
There you go, killing it. All right, guys, do we have any questions from the audience?
Hey, Alexis.
Hi.
It's a pleasure to have you here. So which other women athlete outside of NASCAR racing would you consider meeting, or, you know, would you like to meet and greet? Like, who would you like to, you know, meet?
In NASCAR?
Outside of NASCAR racing, women athlete.
Oh, athletes outside of racing? Gosh, I've met a few. I met Muhammad Ali, which was incredible. So that was really tough. I met him up at my dad's house, and he had been there a few times, and they were friends. So it was tough to hear the news. Yeah, I hang out with a few, you know, boxers and, you know, all pro motocross and, you know, all different types of people in motorsports or extreme sports.
Hello. I wanted to know, in an imaginary game, which celebrity or fellow racer would you like to race against?
My husband. He won't do it, though. He won't.
Hey, Alexis. So we know you're good in the cars. What other ways do you get your adrenaline rush from maybe doing outside things?
Ooh, I love snowboarding. I've been skydiving a few times. Riding motorcycles, dirt bikes, shooting guns. I got to shoot a minigun out of a helicopter a few weeks back, which was incredible. I think it's like done it for me. Nothing will ever feel the same again. But you know, I'm pretty much up for for most things. Now that at this level, you know, the guys don't really like it. My team, the guys don't really like it when I do extreme sports other than what I do. They get pretty upset. So I try to keep it chill. But snowboarding, I'd say, you know, is like something that I do mostly when I'm not in the car.
Thank you so much for coming today. Congrats on all your success.
Thank you.
Keep making history.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank
I really
Thank you, guys.
appreciate it. Thank you, guys.